Welcome to the Yaka Digital Network videos. The sheer power of Murchison Falls provides a direct look at ecosystem services in action. Uganda's entire economy is built on this foundation: the rain generated by our forests, the fertility of our soil, and our rich biodiversity. However, the expanding cityscape of Kampala tells a different story. Rapid urbanization, industrialization, and agricultural expansion are transforming the country's landscape. This growth creates a central tension. Using our natural environment to fuel development carries a hidden cost: the potential depletion of the very foundations that the national economy relies on. To measure the pressure development puts on nature, we use a metric called the ecological footprint. This is the exact calculation of how much land and water is required to support a population's lifestyle and absorb the waste it produces. Historically, Uganda's footprint has remained small, anchored by an agrarian way of life. In growing urban centers, that is changing. Our consumption of manufactured goods, electricity, and single-use plastics is driving that footprint upward. This animation tracks the limit of that growth. The static bar represents our biocapacity, what the Earth can naturally regenerate. Watch the footprint bar scale up. When a population's footprint physically exceeds what the local environment can replace, it triggers an ecological deficit. Operating in an ecological deficit means we are no longer living off nature's interest, we are spending its principle. We are depleting the raw materials that the next generation will need to survive. We can see the scale of biomass extraction right here. The high demand for charcoal, firewood, and the clearing of land for farming are the primary drivers of deforestation in Uganda. This model tracks the consequences. Step 1. Deforestation. Without roots. Step 2 follows. Topsoil washes away. The cycle moves to Step 3. Reduced crop yields. Facing poverty, farmers clear more land. Step 4 connects back to Step 1, completing the loop. This creates secondary side effects. The loss of habitat pushes wild animals into human settlements, driving conflict. Simultaneously, with fewer trees to release water vapor, local rainfall decreases, further punishing the farms. Deforestation is a self-perpetuating cycle. Once it starts, it expands automatically if left unchecked. Ecosystems have absolute mathematical limits. We call this an environmental threshold, the point beyond which natural resilience breaks and the system cannot recover. This cross-section shows wetlands functioning naturally. Reed roots act as a filter and floodwater buffer. Reclaiming land buries these roots, reducing absorption. Once the threshold is breached, the system fails. Raw pollution bypasses the destroyed filter, causing flash floods and disease. Crossing an environmental threshold transforms a passive natural buffer into an active hazard zone. Reversing that damage is nearly impossible. These hazards multiply with the introduction of pollution, the introduction of harmful substances into the environment. We see these vectors interacting directly with our food systems. Look at this livestock foraging in refuse near a water body. Dumping industrial waste and untreated sewage into Lake Victoria kills fish populations and introduces pathogens like cholera. In the soil, the excessive application of chemical fertilizers and pesticides kills vital microorganisms and leaches toxic compounds into the groundwater. In the air, burning waste and concentrated vehicle emissions in cities like Kampala lead to widespread respiratory illness. These three vectors, water, soil, and air pollution, combine to weaken human health and overall biodiversity. Let's apply these concepts. Conduct an environmental audit of your own school. Look at these 4 activities. A. Burning plastic waste. B. Starting a school compost garden. C. Leaving taps running. D. Planting native trees. Rank these from most sustainable to least. You have 5 seconds. Options B and D are high sustainability actions. Composting kitchen waste and planting native trees actively build soil health and prevent erosion. Options A and C are low sustainability actions. Burning plastic introduces toxins into the air, and leaving taps running depletes clean water reserves. Sustainable development requires active implementation at the community level. It starts on your school grounds. Biodiversity is the complex interwoven web of life that provides ecosystem stability. It accounts for the functional connections between species, rather than a simple counthead of animals. This model compares 2 approaches. Farm A plants only maize. Farm B mixes maize, beans, sorghum, and cassava. When a disease attacks, Farm A suffers total failure. Farm B loses the maize, but other crops remain healthy, securing the family's food supply. This principle applies to natural protected forests. A highly diverse system recovers from droughts or fires rapidly because multiple species execute different biological jobs to rebuild the habitat. Biological and genetic diversity act as mathematical life insurance against systemic environmental shocks. We can engineer that resilience through sustainable development, the practice of meeting our current economic needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. Consider agroforestry. Look at these farmers harvesting coffee berries. Growing crops underneath native trees maintains shade, traps soil moisture, and prevents erosion while generating income. Second is the circular economy. This is the shift to recycling, specifically by processing organic market waste into valuable biogas and compost manure. Third is community-based conservation. Uganda's biodiversity, like this mountain gorilla, drives ecotourism. Sharing tourism revenue turns local residents into the ultimate protectors of the ecosystem. When implemented correctly, economic development and environmental conservation are mutually reinforcing. Human activities, specifically unchecked deforestation and pollution, threaten the ecosystems we rely on every day. For your exams, review 3 core areas: the cascading impacts of deforestation, the specific vectors of pollution, and sustainable solutions like agroforestry and waste management. In the Ugandan context, environmental protection is a prerequisite for national survival and economic growth. You can watch more videos for all classes here and get all content at www.yaka.cc.